Hello, welcome back to my channel and thank you for being here with me today. Today I'm doing notes on note taking. So the last video I did was how to study. This is more directed towards your notes that you need to take in nursing school.
There's nothing you can do to convince me that God did not take an extra day creating me. I mean, look at me.
The video will be on how to take notes that foster critical thinking and activates your long-term memory. So the main thing that I'll be going over today is active recall, and you may be thinking like, what is active recall? No worry, I got you. So active recall is an effective study method that makes you retrieve information from your brain. During active recalling, your brain is forced to retrieve information from its long-term storage. Also, active recall helps you build long-term memory and foster critical thinking. It's also responsible for you activating your hippocampus. So one of its functions is to activate your long-term memory or your memory storage, your memory function. You may be like, girl, why you swear about this active recall? Because let me tell you something. During my whole entire journey during nursing school, I graduated with 3.89. I graduated top of my class, and I made the dean's list every semester. So I wouldn't come over here and tell you nothing that I haven't used or I don't deem as effective. As you should know by now, most people you know or most students around you, they study either by reading the whole entire darn textbook, highlighting bullet points of like main points of the passage that they just read, or maybe looking at podcasts and lectures. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not going to work. That is not going to work. And it's not effective. And the only reason why I say this is because all those ways that I just listed are all ways that you do passive learning. So in order to stimulate and use your long-term memory and to allow yourself to memorize things, you have to use an active way of learning, which is called active recall. Because when you're doing those passive ways, you're not using your brain, unfortunately. So that's why it's not going to work. The great thing about this is that I can tell you how to use these in your notes taking and how to make this fun while you're at it. Well, back to answer. Well, Bree, how can I put these in my notes? Don't worry, I got you. I'm giving you two ways to use active recalling within your note taking. So the first way that you can incorporate active recalling within your note takers is just to close your book. Yeah, I said it, point blank period. Just close the darn book. So what happens is a lot of times when we're reading the book section by section, chapter by chapter, a lot of the time once we're done reading that book, we can't recall anything that we have read. So I'm going to give you an example. Next time you find yourself reading your book, highlighting and summarizing, after each section or chapter, go ahead and close it, and then get a blank piece of paper or a whiteboard and literally write everything that you can remember on that white piece of paper or whiteboard from the section or chapter that you just studied. So literally just close it and just try to close your eyes and think of everything you possibly can. This is an example of active recalling. You want to do this specifically this way because if you sit there and you write the notes from the textbook or from the video, you will tend to write the notes verbatim. And when you write them verbatim, you're not going to understand them as well as if you were to write them how you are learning it or how you think that you have broken it down. So this is why you want to close your book. You have literally wrote down everything that you can possibly remember. Go back into the resource that you're using, i.e. that be podcast, lecture, slideshow, or textbook, and then fill in the things that you have missed. So sometimes you'll get majority of the things, but let's say you miss a couple other key concepts, go ahead and write those down and highlight them. So next time you know to hone in on that critical information that you couldn't remember and just keep studying it. So after recalling what you have learned, the most crucial part of this two-step process is that you create questions from the information that you already have learned. I also mentioned this in my how to study and make the dean's list all semester video, which I'll have a card here. So if you haven't seen that video, go back and go watch it. I was really dropping some gems in there, but in there you see that I made a consolidated flashcard. So some people will call this like almost like a flashcard, but we put it in a Word document because you know today has gotten very savvy and nobody wants to walk around with a bunch of flashcards. So What you would do is create questions for the content that you have already summarized, so that way you can test yourself. Testing yourself is critical. A lot of times you're doing a working document, you can have it on your phone, and then you can test yourself on the go. I call this the Bree method, even though I'm not the first one to come up with it, but I have not seen anybody else do notes like this, and I'm gonna go ahead and insert an example of how you would do this. Okay, y'all, so here's an example of how I do my notes. At the top, I just have GI concept. This just is a great way of how you put things in your own words. So when I was saying that don't write things verbatim from the textbook, summarizing in words that you are learning and how you are breaking it down. So example, anytime there's inflammation, ischemia or infection in the GI tract, it weakens the GI tract, causing one, it to perforate, which means open up, and the gut contents leaks out, causing peritonitis. The guts have a bunch of bacteria, which then makes them sepsis, which is an infection. When all this occurred, the interventions are, so I don't have to remember this. If I see a question similar to this, I know anytime something is going wrong in the GI system, I need to NPO, rest the stomach, IV fluids, pain meds, and then give them PPIs. And you also know that you need to have them avoiding straining, coughing, and lifting weight. So, and then I put something here. The client with peritonitis refers to lie still and take shallow breaths to avoid stretching the inflamed peritoneum. Those are like just some basic concepts that go with all of the GI system. So if you go down here, you see that the first one I have is interception. So I'll ask a question like, when the bowel telescopes on itself is called interception, is the answer down here. So we go back up. When the bowel starts to fold in on itself, it causes ischemia and lose blood supply. The GI tract then starts to slough off and die, causing blank stool. Then my answer is the GI tract starts to slough off and die, causing current maroon jelly-like stool. So yeah, I ask the questions up here and the answers are down here. But when I'm studying, I'm not looking down here. I'm just looking at this. So it'll be more like, this is how it'll be. Like, you know. Okay, so then example, I have pyloric stenosis. And then it's like, the questions is the same shit. Where is the pyloric? At the end of the stomach. And then for this one, I'll even have a diagram here that shows me that the pyloric is here. And I have that in there because a lot of times when you're testing on these two concepts, pyloric stenosis and interception, they'll try to confuse you. So you have to know a little about the anatomy, because you know, like, if the vomiting is bilious or not. And pyloric, is the vomiting is not bilious because it does not pass the stomach. It's right at the end of the stomach. So sometimes pictures will help you reference things, right? And like for here, it says, is the vomit bilious or non-bilious for interception? And it says the vomit is bilious, it's green, because it went past the stomach and mixed with the bowel. Intersection has a sausage-shaped mass abdomen. But here for pyloric stenosis, I know it has an olive shape because here's my picture. See, the stomach will have an olive-shaped mass. So, you know, you just keep doing that, like, you know. And this is how my notes look. Yeah. Sometimes I put a lot of diagrams for the GI system, because if you know right where the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas is, spleen, you know, like, where you can refer pain from. Or if my gallbladder is messed up, you know it's going to affect my pancreas and my liver in labs. So that's why I have little pictures in there to help me with. Let's go down a little more. Yeah, same thing here. Sometimes you just throw some pictures in there. But you always put your topics. I always put my topics bold, and then the questions are bold and black, and then the answers are right up under it. Like for this one, though, I had a lot of questions, so I actually use a B. And you can go all the way down to C, D, E, F, G, but whatever, if it's a new topic, you start off with a new number. See? Like, you know, that demonstrates my pain and stuff. So this is a little example of how I do my notes. It's like an outline. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and smash the like button, please, because like I said, if you hit the like button, this puts my video in the algorithm, help us grow this channel and help us grow this channel. Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button. Push your goddamn button. Also, if you're gonna start using this method, go ahead and comment below. I see you guys watch my video, but I want my channel to be interactive. I love to respond to all the comments below. So, and I respond to as many people as I can. And like, can we talk? I just want to talk to y'all. So go ahead and comment below if you plan on using this, or comment something that you have changed in your study habits that have been very effective for you. So there also are other ways that you can improve your you can incorporate active recall in your study and in your note taking, and it's basically just like piggyback on the other two ways. So if you're a solo dolo studier like myself, I don't do group studies or nothing. One of the good things to do, or if you like to study like with one other person, one of the best methods is to teach somebody. If you could teach somebody the content, that means you know the content. So when I was in school and people needed help with studying, like my eyes would light up like it was Christmas, because I knew this is my chance and my ability to learn the content even more, because if I can teach it, it's going to force me to know it better. You don't always have to teach it to another student. Teach it to yourself, teach it to your mom, your dad, shoot, sometimes I used to be teaching it to my son. Anybody around, the wall, the cat, whoever. Another way is to get a whiteboard or a blank piece of paper, like I said, and just vomit content of all the topics that you can remember on a piece of paper. That is a really good way of doing it. Like, just be like, okay, tell me, what do you know about pancreatitis? And you just start writing. And whatever you don't know at that time, you fill it in so you can study it next time. Another way is if you like big groups of people. To be after three people is a little too messy for me, but if you like that, make it a game. So let's say you have 4 people, all of you pick out a random topic from a hat. Everybody got different topics, and then you put a timer on. Everybody write down all the information that they can remember off the top of their brain on the whiteboard or either their piece of paper. Once they do this, you're gonna go around in the group and have one person at a time read back to you what they put on their whiteboard about the particular topic. Once they do that, the other 3 people that's in the group can act as a judge. So whatever they miss, they need to quiz them on it. This can get really fun. Like, y'all should be acting like y'all are on American Idol, critiquing them. So, and just make it fun. Like, nursing school is stressful as it is. Just make it as fun as you can is what I'm saying. So you can make this a game, and I would really recommend that you do, to get the best out of it, to be honest. Like I said, I never was a study group type person. I never really learned nothing from it. And also, if you are studying with people and you want to help them, have them teach it to you. So when I would like tutor people, I would always make them teach it back to me once we already went over it, so that I know where they're struggling, or I know what they need help, or I know like what they're strong at and what they actually know. And if it's anything they miss, we just focus on that. Like I said, good luck. Thank you for tuning in today. I just want to show some examples how you can incorporate different things in your note taking that will probably improve your scores, improve your long-term memory. Active recall is the way to go. I've been using it for a long time. Go ahead and incorporate some spaced repetition in there, meaning like every other day look at the notes. Sometimes that works better than just studying hours and hours. Like, I learned that towards the end of my nursing journey. I wouldn't study hours and hours. I would literally every other day study something, and I would always read my notes like at bedtime. It made me like right before sleep. That was my bedtime story. So you don't want to be cramming. Don't do that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure you comment below. Turn your post notifications on. We're trying to grow the channel. Let's get to 5K. Yeah. And if you're watching the ad, don't skip through the ad. I need my coins. See y'all later. Thank you for joining.